everybody! It is Monday, January 13th, 2020. We're in the future, ladies and gentlemen, and this is your Dead Sun Entertainment live on twitch.tv/Dead Sun Entertainment. And of course, maybe you're watching it on youtube.com/CBGP Games. I don't fucking know. I'm not a fucking miracle maker. But welcome, everybody. Hello, Calverin. Good to see you. I, of course, am Slacker Kite, here yet again to talk about video games for an hour or two, but I'm not alone. I've got other people with me. With me tonight, he'll bring you in the new year right sexily. It's Brian K. Wonder Boy!
I am a construction boy now.
Construction
I am a builder man. I am Dragon Quest Builders 2 man. I am big builder boy over here. Literally, you people have no idea what is going on in my world right now. I will not go any further right now. If you're on the Discord, you will see pictures later of this setup that I have like somehow compiled together out of all of the random assortment of stuff that I have not unpacked after moving into my new apartment.
IKEAing it together in an apartment?
Let's put it this way. I have 3 shoe boxes stacked on top of a cooler as a mouse pad. Free preview for everyone out there listening to this awesome video game talk show. See, I just threw shade at myself better than the ESA could throw it at Sony.
Ooh.
So,
that's double
little
shade.
preview for later on tonight.
And of course, she's got the code for the National Dex and is willing to trade it for the removal of Doug Ford. It's Lindsay K. Lady Merowin.
If only, if only.
Some local Canadian humor. I was like, I don't know, go with it, but whatever.
Make it
But
work.
hey, I am proud to say that I am a survivor of the Pickering nuclear non-disaster of 2020.
I
Cool.
saw that. A lot of people were talking about how everything was exploding.
Yeah, the fact that, I mean, I think it was the National Post, they put out a really good article about it this morning, saying that, you know, in a disaster, Canadians, you're on your own because it took your government something like an hour and a half to figure out what to say on Twitter when they mistakenly sent out a warning.
Jesus.
Well, that just makes me feel great with the world. And
For folks that didn't see the news, basically there's a nuclear plant that's about 100 kilometers from here, and I'm just outside of Toronto, that we all got an emergency alert on our phones at about 7:30 yesterday morning saying there's been an accident, an incident. Actually, let me see if I can pull up the exact wording.
because you got the text message directly to your phone.
Yeah. This is a province of Ontario emergency bulletin which applies to people within 10 kilometers of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. An incident was reported at the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. There has been no abnormal release of radioactivity from the station, and emergency staff are responding to the situation. People near the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station do not need to take any protective actions at this time. Remain tuned to local media for further instructions and information.
Well, that's exciting.
An hour and a half later, we got there is no active nuclear situation taking place at the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station. The previous alert was issued in error. There is no danger to the public or environment. No further action is required. In short, oh my God, there's an emergency. Thank you for responding to our non-emergency emergency.
That is an hour and a half thinking that you're going to die. That is fantastic and good job.
Yeah, an hour and a half of trying to plan my exit strategy of how far and how fast can we drive to
At least
get
with-
away from what will essentially be ground zero.
At least with the Hawaii bombings, it was a thing of, hey, we got it out directly after. No, pay no attention to it. This was a huge mistake.
Jesus Christ. Happy New Year. Here's
Let's
a
start
fun
this off with a heart attack.
like, we already knew the world was melting down. Let's just go ahead and throw another one out there.
What
even
did
if
I
it is
do?
fake.
I sat, planned, chain smoked, and researched.
Hey, what else can you do?
Huh?
Honestly. There.
I'm the one in the household that doesn't have their driver's license, so
Boy.
and the one that did was dead asleep.
Just put on Megadeth as loud as possible and ride out the apocalypse.
Oh, I'm thinking more of Great Big Sea, because I think it was
Yeah.
Great Big Sea that did "It's the End of the World."
Oof.
All right. Are we ready to talk about video games rather than all of this sad stuff?
We almost are. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it out now. I threw a picture of my setup into the Discord, so
Oh.
if anybody wants to see what I'm working with tonight, you will see evidence of me being the best builder boy ever.
Oh, dear God. That just
Yeah.
gives me anxiety, man.
What's
That
up?
is absolutely worthy of a good born and raised Atlanta boy from the south of Georgia.
You're damn right.
That's
You're
our
damn
ingenuity.
right. That's right. You make shit work, even if it's gonna fall apart as soon as you finish using it. You make it work.
Fair enough. Anyway, video games! Hi, everybody! We're going to start off with, hi, screen. You want to load in the capture? That'd be pretty swell. No, I don't want it, does it? You were literally just working. Here, grab this.
It's getting there. It's
It's
angry and temperamental, like
We've-
me without coffee.
We've got a big old white screen here. Let me mess around with... it's really not a stream unless you have technical difficulties, like... You were literally working before I started the stream, and now you are not.
that
That's
white
cool.
screen is that's Jim Spanfeller's like wet dream.
Whew. I mean...
I am in rare form tonight.
Yes, yes, you are, sir.
That's right. What's up, Herb?
Well,
Ah,
so
Anyway.
what we could do is I could always just load a game to play, and we could talk about like
You
a
know what?
regular
Honestly,
old.
For this topic, it wouldn't be a bad idea considering what we're talking about right now. So
Yeah, let me just load up a game to play in the background because apparently Firefox is a big old canvas of white because I had to fucking update it because it wouldn't load IGN properly until I did.
God.
I love technology. I work with it literally all day, and then I get to stream and have this wonderful stuff to deal with. It's just the best of times. Let's get my old favorite standby. Good old Slay the Spire.
There you go.
The whole technical difficulties, it's along the lines of you're not a true streamer unless you've gone live realizing that your mic is still muted.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a shitty gatekeeping thing. That is like the not because gatekeeping is shitty. Let me rephrase that. Gatekeeping is shitty. Gatekeeping is shitty. I do not mean to infer that at all or anything against that. Gatekeeping is terrible, but that has to be the worst excuse of gatekeeping I have ever heard in my life. You are not a real streamer until you have extremely fucked up your shit.
Until everything is fucking ruined.
Yeah. I'm
I
just waiting
almost-
for the day that I drop like a cup of coffee while streaming and just fry my entire rig. So, because that would be my luck.
Don't nobody want that.
There we go. So our first story, we're going to start talking about Slay the Spire with this $3.13 million received this year.
Wait, hold on. Slay the Spire got $3.13 million.
Awesome games done quick. Not Lord Almighty. Today, could you work and just do the things? Okay,
It's
yes.
as if we've been gone for a week.
We've been gone for like 3 weeks.
I
All right. They got $3.13 million. Now, of course, adjust that, considering sometimes monies get charged back, yes, etc. But still, it is the most they've ever made, with the highest attendees and the most viewer count they've ever had, with a peak current viewer of 236,000 watchers.
I mean, AGDQ, GDQ in general, like every event they have, they just keep seeming to one up themselves in terms of viewership numbers, in terms of money raised. Like they're doing awesome stuff. And I know that there are some discrepancies out there in terms of like exactly how much money they do have at the end of these things or later on down the line in comparison to the numbers that they announce after the events are ended immediately. But either way, like they're continually putting out entertaining events that continue to explore what speedrunning can be.
Yeah, I am absolutely for it. Like, these are amazingly entertaining events. Everyone's talking about them while they're going on. So, yeah, there's nothing but, I can't say anything but fucking positive things for AGDQ.
And this is just like such a talented group of people too. I mean, getting over it with Bennett Foddy done in a minute, minute 49, minute 24, something like that?
Something ridiculous like that.
Minute 24. Okay, I've seen people beat their heads against the wall in this game for like 3 hours without advancing anywhere. So, yeah. It's I'm actually going to post the links for our stories in chat as we go. If you folks get a chance, I highly recommend watching the little videos that are embedded in this. There's a speed run for Getting Over It done in a minute 24, and then Control done in 49 minutes.
Yeah, the Control done in 49 minutes broke my goddamn brain. Like, I don't know. I mean, afterwards you kind of know how, but still, a little bit ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's what these events do the best, I feel, is like, it's either one of two things. It's either one, showing you just ridiculous ways to find the cracks in games and exploit them in a way that you never, ever would have thought before. Or it gives you, at least in my case, it gives you a sense of, like, nostalgia or camaraderie or something like that. Like, I know every time, for me specifically, watching Carcinogen run Resident Evil multiple times over the course of the past few years, like different Resident Evil games, like him along with his crew that's behind him on the couch kind of commentating and talking with him through it, every time I watch one of his runs, it just feels like I'm back in like my bedroom with my friends just playing a video game and just like just having a fun evening in with them, like whenever we were little, and that's all we could really give a fuck about was, how dumb is this next thing in Resident Evil 2 going to be, or like what kind of idiotic wrestling match types can we come up with to break this WWE game? Just like it just kind of harkened back to that, like sitting on a couch with your friends and just bullshitting in a way that I haven't really experienced with video games in a long time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those events that you just kind of watch and just go, how... And, like, I've even read all the things on how they eventually got here, and it's fucking fantastic. It just really is.
Yeah.
All the work they've gone to, over 10 years of things going on for them. It's fucking ridiculous. That's really all I can say is, goddamn, you people be crazy and keep doing it. I will keep coming back as long as there are video games. I think that'll happen for a while, right? Like 10, 20 years?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, the great video game crash isn't supposed to happen for at least another 8 years, so we'll get there eventually.
At least not until we figure out what activations are.
Though, my favorite part of the whole thing was after a run of Terry Kavanagh's VV, he released the entire code for his 10-year-old game to the internet for the free. Everyone can take a look, and boy, there were some fun parts to his code. As somebody who in a previous life did programming, his key switch statements are amazing. I understand exactly why he did that, and that is not to shit on Terry Kavanagh. The man makes some of the most brilliant games I've ever played, and boy, I have had some ugly ass code when I used to do coding. So that's fine, but holy shit. What a man.
No, it was rad to see that. I'm not gonna lie. The main takeaway I had from that release was that I did not realize that that game was 10 years old, and Jesus fucking Christ, it made me actually feel my age for the first time in a while. Fuck, like it's crazy.
That I also totally understand, because, yeah. I remember when the game came out and we were all like, oh my god, it's, I didn't know that games could be like this and look like this, and 10 years later, here we are. Sitting here wondering when we're just all going to die, I guess. Sometimes.
That's not what I'm. Don't you put words in my mouth. That ain't what I'm figuring out. I got a whole lot of not dying to do, especially considering the past 2 days in my life. Ugh.
Alright, and of course, the next topic. Pokemon is back out again in the news, and people are either really pissed off or super happy, depending upon who you are.
Isn't that what always happens when Pokemon's in the news?
It's been that way since, like, I can remember, like, watching things on the internet about Pokemons, like, every time something new comes out, oh, well, we all hate it. Well, okay, I don't get it, but sure, okay. Yeah, I like the fact that they're putting out, you can get all the Pokemon by trading with other people, so you don't even necessarily have to have the expansion. You can buy both expansions for $30 together. Now, if you wanted to get it for your Shield game as well, your Sword game, you're rebuying it, so that could be $60 depending. So depends on how you feel about that sort of bullshit.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel terrible about this model because, let's face it, like every other PlayStation, every other Pokemon game that has come out, anytime they've had any add-ons to it or like any kind of addendum, they've just released a new version of the game.
Yeah, this seems way better than their normal model of just releasing a whole brand new game instead.
Exactly. So I perfectly welcome this new DLC future for Pokemon, even though I am not steeped in Sword and Shield right now. Like, but this just I think this will work essentially better, and I think that it'll be good for the bottom line for them, and I think that the price makes sense in that instance, that you're not having to buy a completely new game to get these other 200 Pokemon. I will also say that people who read this and get the feeling that, well, this is just the first like 200 Pokemon drop that we're going to see for a while, and we're going to get everything in here. The company and the developers are still been stated as saying we cannot put every Pokemon in this game. So everybody who is still on that Dexit bandwagon, maybe well, one, you shouldn't be like acting shitty like that.
Yeah, there's legitimate reasons to be mad at it too. I absolutely understand the people mad at Dexit, but it's one of those like, what are you gonna do?
That's the thing. It's like it's a technical thing. It's not because they didn't want to do it. Like they're bringing the game to a new platform. They're making the largest scale like Pokemon game that they've made before in that instance. So it makes total sense.
I've done a little bit of research because I had noticed something in the comments. So they're doing these expansions. It's a $30 expansion pass. You can still play and you can still see said Pokemon in the game if you don't get the expansion pass. However, you won't be able to capture them.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
That's just a tease.
Also true. I mean, so it kind of comes down to they had to put out a Pokemon game, and they had to put it out because they already had an anime going and a CCG going, so they couldn't just wait for it. It's kind of a bitch. So it's a whole fucking thing, and okay, you know have good reason to be annoyed, but just holy shit, don't kill developers. I promise it's not worth it. Or threaten to kill developers, I should say. Because some of these good boys out there, they ain't good boys.
Yeah, there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for threatening a developer over a fucking video game. Like, that's just, it's so stupid.
It is what it is. They also announced like a mystery dungeon thing. I should mention. I don't really know a whole lot about it, to be honest, because I don't never played the original mystery dungeon, but it looks cute as shit. So cool.
Well, that's basically it. Looks cute as shit. It's fun. It's gonna be, I think it's coming out for the Switch.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically Link's Awakening again, but for Pokemon. And yeah, Link's Awakening was cute as fuck. Uh, I loved it myself. I understand why some people didn't, and there you go. One of my favorite games of last year, anyway.
Yep.
Moving on to other things. Why am I bringing this up in Firefox when I have to copy it from Chrome to Firefox in the first place? I know you guys can't see this on your end, but maybe I should make this easier on myself. The internet was also mad at Platinum Games because they took money from the devil. Tencent has given Platinum Games a nice chunk of change, and they are going to begin publishing their own games. You know, the company brings you Bayonetta 3, Babylon's Fall, the people who have just brought you so many, what is the Switch game? 100... Platinum Games are just such a fucking good company. They make great things, and this isn't going to change the way they work at all. I hope anyway. It shouldn't.
If anything, it's going to help them in some ways because, because like, so being able to self-publish, that gives them a lot more autonomy in terms of what they want to put out there. So I know Platinum has a reputation for kind of having a few filler games in between some truly monumental action games. The last one being, I think, Nier Automata, as like the last tentpole in the Platinum library. So I think that like this will give them a bit more flexibility in terms of deciding exactly what they want to do, what kind of games they want to make, and what they want to tell. They're not beholden to anybody, even though like they had a lot of freedom beforehand, but even we don't know what influence publishers might have had on them with other games, especially some of the licensed stuff that they had. So like they definitely have more autonomy in this instance. And as for the people that are like pointing to them making a deal with Tencent and just automatically labeling them like the devil or whatever, like, look, there are plenty of things to be critical about with Tencent. There are more than plenty of things
Oh yeah.
to be critical about Tencent. But at the end of the day, like, this is simply just a financial investment, and I don't think that this is something that points to some of the more problematic elements within Tencent. I think this is just a good thing for Platinum, and be happy for Platinum, and pray that Bayonetta 3 gets here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Astral Chain I wish had done better than it did. But then again, I
I
didn't
still
even buy
want to check
it.
that out. I still want to check that game out. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, and that was right up my alley.
Admittedly, they are a company that takes a lot of chances. Bayonetta 2 was a major chance, putting that just out on Switch to begin with. The Wonderful 100 was a pretty big, put it out on the Wii U. Nobody cared about that system.
I mean, they like to take chances in that instance, but they also play it fairly safe when it comes to licensed stuff. Like, I know that we have like friend of the show, Hollis will defend Transformers Devastation to the end of the days, and honestly, that's one of the better games from their licensed part of their library. But for the most part, a lot of their licensed games are trash. Like I remember
Oh,
playing
yeah.
that Ninja Turtles game they put out a few years ago and just feeling like sick to my stomach with like just how uninspired that game was. As someone who like idolized the Ninja Turtles growing up, maybe that's a problem on my end too because I'm idolizing pop culture. But like at the same time, like you had the chance to do something fun and interesting with this, and you just churned out another like boring beat 'em up, which is the one of the major criticisms against Platinum style. So
Yeah, and with good reason, really. They make a whole lot of filler games, so here is a very good chance for them to make some really good, not filler games for once that everyone can go, yeah, these are good. Thank you, Platinum. May
yeah,
we have another? Am I going? Nope, I'm not going to die. Anyway.
oh, I forgot you were playing a game.
No, 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 no. As well, at the recent CES Expo, there was a lot of stuff on display. You may have noticed PlayStation decided to show off the PlayStation 5 logo.
Logo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Sorry.
can't show it on stream, but if you've seen the PS4, you've seen the PS5. It's fine. It is a logo.
They got that Spider-Man font.
They know what they do. They know.
God.
There was a lot of really cool stuff to come out of it, CES this year, and then there was some stuff where you're looking at it going, but why? Like Pampers bringing out smart diapers that connect to an app to let you know when your kid's wet himself,
God, CES this year was so weird.
or an AI razor,
But to
or like
me,
I says, the Sony car.
the biggest, weirdest thing to me was the gaming handheld device that Alienware decided to put on display, which is basically a Nintendo Switch, but a PC. And we don't have specs for it. They don't know when they might come out with it, if they'll come out with it. It's really, really weird.
Well, I mean, it's a prototype. That's basically what
Yeah.
it is. Like, it's a prototype. And honestly, it's a pretty awesome in terms of the tech prototype in that it packs the power of like a fairly competent gaming PC into like basically the Switch hardware.
Mm.
You know, like you're able to play Xbox games on, you know, if it ever comes to market, and like that's cool that they were willing to do that, and it makes sense considering like one thing that people have been clamoring for, or there have been rumors of, like abounding about, would be the Switch Pro, and of
Mm.
course those came up again this week after CES.
Yeah.
So like it would make sense that some people would start looking at the Switch technology and trying to engineer their own versions of it to beef it up in a way. So it makes total sense that Alienware would be a company trying to do that. I hate the way this thing looks. I swear to God, this thing could not have more angles if it tried, and that bothers me. It just bothers me personally. It's just not my aesthetic. But that being said, like if this thing's able to do what it can do, and that can actually come to market in that way, it'll be an awesome addition to these consoles. I would be very scared to see the price of it, just knowing
Yeah.
Alienware's reputation. And also, I'd be very curious to see how it circumvents some of Nintendo's patents.
And
I would love to see that fight.
I would love if it wasn't Alienware.
That too. I would love it
I
if it wasn't Alienware.
They were a great company until they got bought out by Dell.
Ugh.
And now their quality is worse. Their prices are even higher. And it's depressing. That being said, the form factor is something I can get behind because gaming laptops are painfully expensive and they're heavy. They're bulky AF. Like they're a pain to carry around. The fact that Intel at CES as well announced a new graphics card, for laptops is leading people to speculate that they're using this in the Alienware UFO, which is really cool. But at the same time, how's cooling going to work?
I mean,
'Cause
this looks like a machine that's definitely going to heat your junk. Let's be real.
Yeah, and I mean, like there are cell phones out there that are built for gaming, and guess what? They come with external cooling pads that you have to clip onto the phone if you're planning on gaming.
Yeah, I don't see how this is really gonna work, but also if it stays as just a concept, it's fine. I don't really see the harm in it. So yeah, go on, Alienware, do your thing.
I will say that from reading some of this stuff, like some of the performance stuff might be a little bit of an issue. Granted, this is still a prototype, but like apparently when docked, to quote this Digital Trends article, the system's fans made their presence known. So yeah.
I mean, what's the point of being able to game on the go if it's going to sound like you have a small Harrier aircraft in your hands while you're gaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be a little bit of a distraction on the bus to work, you know? Just a
As
tiny
if-
bit.
As if playing GTA on the go isn't going to be enough of a distraction on the bus as is. I predict, and you guys can mark this, I predict it will get pushed to production and it will be a holiday release for 2022.
That is probably, like, it
Uh.
sounds like a good window, really, because that would actually give them time to finish the prototype and all of that happy stuff. So, yeah, sounds like a good window.
Because Alienware likes money. Dell really likes money.
I like
The fact that I can take their base systems and build them piecemeal for less than a third of what they're selling them for. I mean, they're going to try to jump on this.
Yeah, but when you build it, are you going to have those weird glowy things all around the box and, you know, those special light-up displays and all that happy shit?
Yeah. The fact that my first computer that I bought on my own as an adult, because I was not very savvy regarding computers, was a Dell pre-build, and they shipped it with the first edition of Windows Vista, and the system had 1 gig of RAM. You need at least 3 to effectively run Windows.
Ooh. Well, that's ugly.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. But
Oh, real quick before we move off of CES,
mhm.
I have to give a quick shout out to the Subaru fucks. Did neither of y'all see this?
No.
Okay, so Subaru was at CES. They unveiled I think it was at CES. No. It was at the Singapore Motor Show. There we go. Okay, sorry. It was I thought this was at CES because it was the same week. At the Singapore Motor Show, they showed off a new version of the Subaru Forester, which is called the Forester Ultimate Customized Kit Special, or the Subaru Fucks.
Oh my god.
I will send this in the Discord for all to
Please?
see.
I think we all need to know more about how Subaru fucks.
There's a link to the article there where they had to send an apology to American dealers over the name the Subaru Fucks.
Oh my god!
It's so good.
How did they do this?
I don't
I'm
know.
going
It's so
to
good.
throw this in our
I've,
stream chat
I've
as well.
thrown it in
Do
the
it.
stream. I've already thrown it.
But needless, it goes without saying this card will not be available in the United States market. Why not?
Oh no, it will. They'll just have
Ooh.
a different name for it. It's just like apparently Subaru of America is like super pissed in this letter that they sent out. They said like they had nothing to do with this. It goes without saying that this car will not be available in the United States market.
But
Sounds like an angry mom. Holy shit.
We apologize for any negative feedback this may have caused. SBR has had the name removed from the car at the Singapore Auto Show. We worked very hard to build a strong brand image for this company, and the naming of this vehicle in no way reflects the values and standards we hold true. Furthermore, we will always do our best to protect our brand's integrity. They threw the Singapore Motor Show under the bus. They threw the Singapore distributors under the bus. They threw so many people under the bus just because they don't want everybody to know that their car fucks.
hey guys, what do you think the import costs from Singapore for that car would be?
I don't want to think about it, but whatever it is, it sure as fuck ain't worth it.
But I want a car that's called the fuck.
I mean, if they put this little thought into it, I don't want the fucks.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
just think when it breaks down, you can go, what the fucks?
you know somebody actually thought that out. They planned that out. Somebody was having some fun. That was not an accident.
Oh, no. This
There's
does
no
not
way
just
this could be a
happen. We don't have the same Nova thing from the, 70s that happened before now in modern day. You just don't.
No. You don't accidentally stumble into perfect acronyms like that.
Hey, Mr. Graves, how you doing? Welcome to the show that doesn't give a fuck. Anyway. God, I'm really good. But you know who else doesn't give a fuck? The owners of Geo Media.
Hey!
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have entered the ranty portion of our show. Sit back, grab your popcorn, drink your beer, and enjoy.
I guess because we're having quote-unquote technical difficulties, I'm going to have to read these letters from GM Media and all of that good stuff, eh?
Well, first off, let's actually go over what was actually said that sparked all of this off. Because like the response from the GMG union. And
Yeah, I was going to
and-
start with the letter from Geo Media.
Okay. Sorry, I got the names confused there. I thought I automatically default to Herb. So
Yeah, he
Okay.
is a disgusting herb, but
yes, he is. Okay, here we go. Let's do it.
R.E. Deadspin. And let me actually go back a little bit. You may remember from last year's show that the entire staff of Deadspin quit because they fucking hated the new people in charge of GO Media, that is Gawker Media, that includes Gawker, Kotaku, Gizmodo, The Onion, and all of those peoples. So, yeah, good to know on all of those accounts so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've been in talks with the unions, and It seemed like there was discussion going on until this letter was received from Geo Media. Dear Mr. Peterson, I am writing to address the current situation regarding the WGAE and Deadspin. It is our goal, and one that we hope is mutual, to restart the Deadspin publication as soon as possible, and in a manner that provides both the editorial freedom necessary for such a platform and the business focus to ensure its long-term sustainability. To this end, we have decided to move the Deadspin platform, which will remain a dedicated sports platform under the Onion corporate structure to ensure the best chance for its future. In this regard, Deadspin will therefore be headquartered in our Chicago office. However, the office to prior Deadspin employees will return to their former positions, remains open at this time, and that includes we are prepared to discuss the impact of the structural change with you if you would like, and they are willing to talk to the people who are formerly there. In terms of modifications to the Gizmodo Collective Bargaining's Agreement editorial independence provisions, we believe we have reached a point where our discussions are no longer productive, and as such, we will not engage in further discussions on the topic. We have and will continue to respect the editorial integrity of our journalists at each of our platforms. The contractual provisions, as they currently exist, more than do this with language that far exceeds anything that exists elsewhere in the digital media industry. The further revisions you seek are designed not to protect the integrity of reporting, but to place virtually full operational control of the brand in the hands of the bargaining unit. For example, your request to give the staff veto power over who might be hired as their boss goes far outside the norms of the media industry. Your unreasonable and unprecedented demands are not in the best interests of the company and would inhibit our ability to successfully operate our websites for the benefits of our readers, employees, and advertisers. It is absolutely critical for media companies to have the ability to ensure that sites are appealing not only to visitors but also business partners and prevent any irreversible damage to the company and to ongoing employment at our staff. I am sure you know over the past few months our efforts to operate and then restart Deadspin have been severely hampered by union-represented employees' concerted, divisive actions and their continued objections to our managerial decisions. While we strongly disagree with the position taken, the views asserted by the union and its members on the issues, we have become even more concerned by the damaging impact these actions have had on those who want to work for Deadspin and our current editorial management who now refuse to partake in the recruitment process. We have seen at least one extremely public example of a freelance writer being harassed incessantly to the point the individual refused to work for Deadspin further. We believe that these very public actions have a long-lasting impact on existing and potential talent who fear they will be subjected to the same inappropriate harassment. As you also know, immediately after the unnecessary mass resignations in October 2019, we filed a grievance with the WGAE asserting that the union and its members' conduct in walking off the job and engaging in its anti-company campaign violated your commitment to not strike or otherwise interfere with the work of the company during the life of the collective bargaining agreement. In the response, the union specifically committed to abide by the terms of the collective bargaining agreement. We are therefore asking you, in furtherance of this commitment, to ensure and confirm that neither the WGAE nor its members will engage in any further conduct directed towards job applicants and those who accept employment, freelancers, or other providing services to Deadspin that prevent Deadspin from restarting its operation. The bottom line is we will not jeopardize this business, which employs over 400 people across our other news platforms and continues to attract top-notch talent. With our continued investment and support, we intend to grow all of Geo Media platforms sustainably for the long term, which will result in more job opportunities for our employees and more great news for our readers. We look forward to hearing from you, Jim Spanfeller.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack from that alone.
There's a ton because it's and so much of it is just fucking predatory, fucking ill-fitting bullshit that these understand what they are saying or how to run a media company, much less a news media company.
Can
One,
we start with the fact that quitting your job is not striking?
yeah, no, we can start with that because that's definitely true. That quitting your job is not going on strike. That is simply say that's quitting your job. That's leaving your place of employment. You have nothing to strike against if you're not employed there. Um, okay, look, I will say this right off the bat. I do not think that people who choose to write for Deadspin should be like harassed to a certain level. Like honestly, let me take that back. They should not be harassed. They can be very much be criticized. And I fully stand with anybody who is going to go out there and call someone like that a scab. Because of the state that Jim Spanfeller and the higher ups at Geo Media have left that site in, based off of how their fear and insecurities played into how Deadspin, how they wanted to effectively change Deadspin's style of coverage of sports and its intersectionality with other points of discussion. That being said, though, I haven't seen anything new on Deadspin's front page in months. I think they said that themselves in this statement. That like they have not. Deadspin is effectively dead. Deadspin is dead. Like, and the fact that they are trying to say that, oh well, we're gonna resurrect it by moving it to our Chicago office instead. Like, what are you moving to Chicago? That's literally nothing more than just lip service. That's just saying like, oh well, we're not going to publish anything in Chicago instead of not publishing anything in New York. I would be very curious to see how many people they have actually gotten interested in applying to work for them at Deadspin specifically. And then also the fact that it said, where was it? There was one part in this statement here. Okay, yes, it said that which employs over 400 people across our other news platforms and continues to attract top-notch talent. I love that this statement came out across two bookends of three of the top talents leaving the company. Like literally a week, like 2 weeks before this came out, Cecilia D'Anastasio left Kotaku to go join Wired. A few days after this came out, both Gita Jackson and Joshua Rivera are gone. Moving on to different things. I know Gita's going over to Motherboard. I think Josh is going back into freelancing. I'm not sure. Good luck to all three of them. Awesome people, awesome writers, awesome coverage there. So yeah, you say you're attracting top-notch talent. That's cool, but you're also driving off the people that built these sites into what they are. And you're honestly not winning over anybody within your company on the editorial side in doing a lot of these things. And the fact that they are saying that they are like they're basically like throwing the union under the bus because like cutting off conversations with them about what to do with this Deadspin situation, or like trying to work out something with some of these people, or like trying to do anything to resurrect Deadspin as something, anything at this point. To say that they are just basically putting their foot in the ground and walking away from the table with the union is super gross.
Yeah, these are all true facts about the owners of Geo Media here. They are kind of being shit stains through this whole thing, and man, the number of writers unions that have backed up the GMG union have been amazing. Just great, top notch from so many people. But let's get into GMG Union's response to this. All right, a little bit of shade here. No one in this bargaining unit is surprised that, once again, Jim Spanfeller has demonstrated a jaw dropping lack of understanding of the business he acquired. His reckless, ill informed behavior has had repercussions beyond the mass resignations at Deadspin. Over the past many months, talents continue to leave our company in droves. The GMG union sought to negotiate with management in good faith for functional protection of the editorial independence to prevent further damage to this company and to allow us all to do our jobs in peace and to the high standards for which we hold ourselves. Management communicated today that they intend to pull out of these negotiations. We are disappointed that upper management refuses to negotiate the effects of their actions. Moving Deadspin Chicago will not solve the problem that Jim never understood Deadspin and did everything in his power to kill it. The member of these bargaining units vehemently object to this decision. You'll be hearing more from us on these issues soon. Cool.
Yep. I mean, that's the perfect response. I mean, that's literally the perfect response. Excuse me.
Yeah, what more is there to say, really?
Oh, well, there's plenty more to say because, of course, the GMG union put out another statement today.
They did, and we'll get to that. But,
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about what the Writers Guild of America had to say. The Guild has been working for months with the new leadership at Geo Media to find a new path forward to ensure the continued success of the company and the well-being of our members. Today, without warning, Geo Media walked away from discussions around the editorial integrity and then implemented a drastic restructuring of the unit. While the Guild remains committed to finding a way to restore workers' trust in the company, today's actions undermine all our efforts to find a workable solution. The Guild is meeting with our members today to discuss the next steps.
See, excuse me. This is so frustrating because literally them walking away from the table is just not just a slap in the face to the people that work for them and the unions that represent them, but it's a slap in the face to this entire process. It shows that they don't have any care for the people that work there as people, much less as employees. Like they basically view the people that have worked to cultivate and grow these sites into what they have become as just cogs in the wheel, when we all know that that is not how you treat any kind of editorial outlet. Like, so much of this industry is built upon personality and being able to have that personality bleed through into how you write, what you write. No one writes the same in that way. Like, yes, there are styles that you can follow and that dictate certain certain different types of reporting or opinion pieces or discussions and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you don't invest in a writer because they are able to produce something good in that structure. It's because they're able to infuse that structure with something that is able to communicate to an audience and draw an audience in. That is what the people at Kotaku, at Deadspin, at Jezebel, at Jalopnik, at The Onion, at The Root, at Gizmodo, all of these different people, they are there because they're able to convey the information and the opinions and the criticisms that they seek out to do in a way that brings an audience around them and brings them back to that site. It cultivates an audience that wants to invest in those people. And the minute that you start treating those people as replaceable parts is the minute that you start just tearing away at what these sort of outlets are meant to do. And that's when you start seeing things crumble. That's why Deadspin is what it is now. That's why you've seen a mass exodus of a lot of people from other places as well. A lot of people have been saying that they're just waiting for Kotaku to die. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen because there are too many people that dig their nails and teeth into this thing and will go down fighting. Like, Stephen Totilo was not going to walk away from that. Stephen Totilo will fight them tooth and nail. So those rumors are null and void at this point. But like, there's a huge discrepancy in understanding of how to run these companies and what these companies actually do between what between that and what Jem Spanfeller believes these companies should do.
That being said, go ahead.
Honestly, in Geo Media walking away from the table on this, they're striking me very much as the petulant schoolyard bully going, well, I'm not getting my way, so I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. And
Yeah.
I totally agree. This is not how you run a massive corporation. You've still got to treat your employees with respect. You have to still follow the rules and listen to the unions when they're saying, hey, look, yo, we're willing to meet halfway on this, but you got to be willing to meet halfway and not just throw a temper tantrum like a child.
Now, what my thought is, there was a wonderful. You may have noticed us talking about the exit of some people from Kotaku, and I might have giggled a bit at the exit from Kotaku because it's great. It's just great. I am wondering, Lindsay and Brian, would you two be so kind as to act out Josh and Gita starting from near the end where they talk about Jem Spanfeller? That they published to Kotaku directly, might I add? Because, like, the whole article is great, and mostly Gita and Josh talk about, the difficulties of people of color getting jobs in this, entertainment field, and how hard it can be to write for this sort of audience to begin with, and, how the fans often treat them, etc., etc. But it goes places. Oh, let's see here. In the meantime, which one of these good boys do I poison them? Oh, they're all gonna die anyway. Who cares?
Okay. So I guess we can start from Josh's. I'll read Josh if you want to read Gita, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start from one of the things I've learned from you here. One of the things I've learned from you, because I have not been involved in any union or organization or anything like that, is the notion of pushing to advocate for yourself, but also being cognizant of the needs of others. So like, there's this cathartic desire to fucking take on these motherfuckers, you know? Let's take the fight to them, but also we have our colleagues to think about, you know?
I love every single person who works for Kotaku. And when I say love, I mean love. Like, I have been sobbing about the idea of not working with them for basically an entire month. And when I mean sobbing, I mean big, fat, wet tears not coming out of my nose. Just absolute abject misery. So I love to talk to you because of what you just said and about looking at a time of strife and people deciding that you're just going to be the best you can possibly be. I feel like that's deeply a Kotaku instinct, always going out with two big middle fingers, and that's like the tightest thing in the world.
I feel robbed of the opportunity to love this place as much as you do.
Can we just say specifically that Jem Spanfeller has made it impossible for us to work here?
Yeah, absolutely.
His outward and obvious hostility towards the writers here, his treatment of the Deadspin writers, his firing of Barry, the way he talks about Deadspin, and the way he won't take responsibility for its closure, even though it comes from his really awful management decisions, have just made my faith in the ability of him being able to keep this company solvent just completely obliterated. And it's all him. It's all his choices.
There's no way I feel supported as a writer. I know Stephen Totillo, bless up, will go to the ends of the earth for us.
Oh yeah, he would fight an army. He cares so much about his writers.
It's a shame that we don't have owners that care for a fraction as much. You know, they don't. They don't shout out our work. They don't care for our work.
I'm not even sure that Jem Spanfeller is aware he has a video game website.
I mean, he might know now.
Yeah, sup dude, suck it.
Gang, gang. Jesus Christ.
The drag on this, like, okay, yeah, say what you will about Kotaku, there is a whole lot of things to say, but I did not expect this article to actually stay on the website this whole time. It's just been here.
It's probably because Jim Spanfeller doesn't know what's here. It's because he doesn't like I said, like he probably doesn't know that he has a video game website. Like
Yeah.
so like it makes total sense like in that way. And if he does, it would look even worse for him to pull this down.
But they pulled before. I forget. No, it was on Deadspin, wasn't it? When they initially talked out about him.
Well, yes and no. Yeah, well, Deadspin, yes, it was originally on Deadspin when they talked out about Spanfeller and the Great Hill Partners as a whole, whenever they took over Geo Media. But the only instance of them pulling articles down was whenever that whole fiasco about the automated ads came up, and every website under Geo Media basically put up an article saying like, "Hey, here's a direct email to Jim Spanfeller if you want to complain about these. We don't have any control over this. Email this person." And they took all those articles down.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, but I mean, like that double middle finger attitude, like that is definitely a Kotaku thing. That's definitely it was a Gawker Media thing for a long time. And honestly, I'll be frank, like that attitude, I like commiserate with that a lot. And it empowered me whenever I started entering this field to be like, oh, I can just come out like not really like caring about what I say and how I say it, but not feeling like fearful of saying it. You know, it's like this is this is real. This is what's out there. You might not like it. It might not show you in the best light, but it's what's out there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and this doesn't really say doesn't say the best thing maybe about Kotaku, but I don't see anybody noticing or paying attention to this website at all, so sure, okay, that's fine. You guys do what you want, I guess. What else can you do?
That's just Kotaku's attitude, and that's why I love reading their stuff.
Yeah, the other websites haven't really said much of anything. You know, people have obviously left the other websites as well. It's not just a Kotaku thing where people from Geo Media have been leaving pretty heavily. But that does lead us to our last statement that came out just earlier today from GMG Union. We, the members of GMG Union, have lost all faith in the ability of the current leadership team headed by CEO Jim Spanfeller to adequately represent the best interest of our company or its staff. Time and again, they have shown themselves to be poor judgments of not only what made these websites essential to our readers, but of how to sensibly operate a digital media venture. A list of such failings have been shared directly with Great Hill Partners, the private equity concern which now owns Geo Media and saw fit to install Spanfeller. In spite of these difficulties, we have attempted to bargain for functional editorial independent protections in good faith. As of last week, management has made clear they have no interest in negotiations on our editorial integrity, furthering a totally unavoidable but nonetheless catastrophic rift between staff and management. Today, 125 staffers, representing 97% of the editorial bargaining unit, have opted to cast a vote of no confidence in Jim Spanfeller. We sincerely hope Great Hill Partners understands the gravity of the actions and urge a swift and drastic change to leadership. Now, I don't know what the vote of no confidence, it doesn't really have much bite considering that contractually they are not able to strike, so I'm not sure what all they can do with this. But still.
Oh, shit. Sorry, my makeshift setup just kind of collapsed a little bit. I'll
And
answer the question
nobody
here in a
was
second.
surprised.
It's okay. It's all right. I am number one builder boy. I will correct this.
Um, so, I mean, the vote of no confidence, if you look at it outside of a, hey, we can actually do this and it's going to make changes, it's not going to make changes directly.
Mm.
That vote of no confidence is going to start shaking the confidence of your shareholders,
Also true.
which means it's going to start shaking the confidence of your investors. And when the money starts getting scared, then you're really screwed. They're actually going about this a really smart way.
Fair. Not exactly a way I think I've thought of it. But yeah, fair. Though I do so love to hear what Brian especially has to say on man, if ever there's been somebody within this group of people here at Dead Sun Entertainment that could give a fuck about Union Busters especially. I think it is our good boy Wonder Boy here.
God, you talk me up so much. Talk me up with all this.
This is your
Fucking
weekly dose of flattery.
vitriol.
Love it.
I appreciate it. I'm terrible at taking compliments. I say that every time I get one. No, like, look, there are some complications that come from this, and they're somewhat rumored. I do not have personal knowledge of the CBA there. And there have been some discussions about there being a no strike, no lockout clause in the CBA, the current one.
Mm.
I am not positive about that. If that is the case, this was the next logical step for them. This was probably one of the more powerful steps that they could take. And it makes total sense that they would put a vote of no confidence in there. I'm surprised that it was 97% of the people that said it and not 100%, considering I have not really heard any dissenting opinions coming out of any of these outlets regarding Spanfeller. Like, I think that time and time again, in the short time that he has been there, he has shown that he does not have an understanding of what it means to news outlet, digital media or otherwise. Like, I get that there's been this shift in the industry towards, especially under a capitalist system where you are trying to make money off of this sort of stuff. And in that instance, sometimes editorial I guess editorial aspects or editorial approach can be somewhat compromised in that instance, and that kind of leads to, or the specter of that being compromised can be thrown out there very readily by a lot of people. I find my defending Kotaku as an example to multiple times across, not necessarily on a daily basis, but anytime that Kotaku really comes up in conversation. Like, I find myself being the person like, no, Kotaku's like really cool about how they handle stuff and how they vet like stories and how they come up with their opinions and everything. Like it's not like there's so much hate thrown at Kotaku based off of like past unfounded Gamergate stuff and other just shitty people on the internet being like, oh, well, everybody else is saying fuck Kotaku, so I can say fuck Kotaku also. That's not to say that they're not without their mistakes and without their foibles, because no outlet is perfect. I've written for multiple outlets where I have had issues with the fan bases there, and I have had issues with higher ups there. I'll be frank, I had my own labor dispute bullshit a few months ago with a place that ended up with me leaving that place because there were fuck ups that I just could not stand anymore. I was not protected by a union, so I had to take that shit on my own head. And I really wish I had been. But regardless of that, like, say what you want about Kotaku. Say what you can have your opinions about what Kotaku does, about how they approach the covering games and the culture around games as a whole, but that is completely separate from this issue, because this is an issue where people at the top do not understand how to run what they have. They try to run it in a way that goes completely against the ethos of news media, and the fact that they feel this need to dig their feet in and not budge at all and not want to work with the people that they work with. Like I said, it shows a complete disdain for their employees, and going back to my previous point, like they view this as a cog. They view this as a machine that you can just replace a part in. And the fact that that is the mindset that they have proves that they do not need to be in this business. I Even if Spanfeller is ousted because of this, I don't know if that really even is going to change anything, because Great Hill Partners will still be in control of the company. They will still be the owners of this company, and they will be tasked with putting in a new CEO. And there's nothing to guarantee that they won't just put in a new version of Spanfeller that is just not as blatant with their dumbassery. So, like, this is a long and winding road that is nowhere near ending, and I really hope that it does not end in a lot more talent leaving these sites. Because honestly, that's the worst case scenario. I feel is that you see all of these sites die, and it's a real possibility. I never would have thought that the entire editorial staff of Deadspin would leave. Granted,
Yeah,
I did
absolutely
not. I did, yeah, and granted, I never thought that the situation that caused them all to leave or inspired them all to leave would happen, because you just don't think about that sort of thing happening. But it was the perfect storm, and they all left, and that kind of solidarity is one that I admire in this industry. You know, there's a reason why this push to unionize within video games is also happening within games journalism, within journalism as a whole. And as for the most part, a lot of these unions that have been popping up in the past few years, they're being acknowledged by their companies. There are some outliers, obviously. There are a number of people that choose not to recognize the unions that and work with their employees to better establish proper workers' rights and fair deals. But in terms of this specifically with Geo, this is probably the best step they could take right now, if they do have a no strike clause in their CBA. If they don't, this is the ultimatum. This is the final straw. If there is not a worthy response, I think, in the union's mind within the next week or two, watch for some strikes. Watch for some walkouts. Like, this is getting down to the nitty gritty, where like people, like, there's gonna be starting to be metaphorical blood in this fight, in that way at least.
Yeah, I absolutely believe so. So I think we're going to see some real shit coming out of these companies soon. I don't know when, but you know, soon.
Also, Jim Spanfeller is a herb.
Yes, he is.
Cannot stress that.
He is an herb. We've talked enough about this potential strike that may affect multiple websites. Let's get back to the actual video games, though, because, you know, that's what we do here. We talk about video games. It's Mr. Video Games. It's not Mr. Editorial Websites, despite the fact that it's something that interests probably the three of us more than anything else.
Could be very interesting.
Yeah. So, PlayStation did not join in for E3 last year, and it has decided not to come again to E3 this year. What a fucking shocker. Just so surprised.
I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire. These rumors have been bounding about for at least a few weeks now, heading back into like the doldrums of 2019.
Yeah, so there's just no surprise here. The probably the only surprising thing is some of their verbiage in this. Let's see, where is the line that I liked the most? Titles are the upcoming launch, a place to where truly look forward to hear collaboration with our fans. I can't find the particular line that I really wanted to, though I'm glad that GameIndustry.biz actually included as well the ESA update. Oh, yeah. The firm told GameIndustry.biz that it does not feel the vision of the event is right for what it has planned this year. Instead, it will attend hundreds of consumer events to showcase upcoming games for PS4 and PS5. So they're willing to go to hundreds of other places to go show their wares. But not the one that people have talked about in the video game industry since before I was fucking born.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Oh no, I totally understand. It's just amazing to me that they just kind of fucking came out right and said, yeah, no, we're going to hundreds of other places to go do our thing, but not E3. This one, it can fuck itself.
Well, I mean, it's a very damning quote, I will say that. And honestly, it points to something that Jason Schreier over at Kotaku.com pointed out on Twitter earlier today regarding this, basically saying that whenever he was hearing about some of the reasons why Sony pulled out of E3 last year, there seemed to be some definite dissent and frustrations between Sony and the ESA. So, if that is continuing into 2020, guess what? We're going to have a shade war. We're going to have some very cleverly disguised drags.
Yeah. There's no way to avoid that, especially, considering ESA has its hands in so many pockets. Just so many.
Is it wrong of me to say I'm actually looking forward to reading all of that?
No.
I don't think you would be here if you weren't looking forward to reading all of that.
Everybody loves watching a good, catty mouth off.
Hell yeah.
Especially
I need
whenever
a dumpster
one of them
fire in my life.
Exactly. Especially whenever one of the parties does not know how to retaliate at all.
Yeah.
No, but in all fairness, putting aside the Sony ESA war of words, which I'm sure we're gonna get to here in just a second, this makes far too much sense for Sony at this point. Yes, we didn't get a PSX last year. State of Play is kind of wishy-washy at the moment. It's still getting its legs underneath its feet, trying to figure out what they want to do with that direct-to-consumer streaming show. But let's face it, the PS4 was not announced and unveiled at E3. They are perfectly capable of holding their own events or going to other conferences that are more directed at users than E3 that are going on across the globe. They're not afraid to go to Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, EGX, PAX, these shows to show off that stuff. They're going to have their own events. They don't need E3. That's the dirty secret here that no one wants to talk about in terms of not necessarily that journalists or us or even Sony wants to talk about, but it's what ESA doesn't want to talk about. No one needs E3 anymore. It's a thing that we all, up until late last year, we all kind of saw as this benchmark to hit. If you were interested in games or covered games or wanted to cover games, you had to go to E3 at least once. But any goodwill that the ESA had to try and reestablish E3 as mandatory, or as a mandatory thing for people to participate in, that all went out the window in the past year. I feel with Sony and Nintendo both pulling out of there. EA moving across the street or down somewhere else in the city. You had, and then of course all the doxing of the journalists last year. You have alienated top publishers, top developers, and top journalism outlets that you rely on for that show to continue thriving in the way it has. And Sony is just the latest group to say like, no, we really don't need you.
Bless. That's all I feel I can say here is just bless Sony. And
I mean, it's okay though. The ESA has a pretty good idea what they want to do with E3 going forward anyway, you know.
yeah, they've pretty much established that no, we're not worried about you. We've got our own ideas. We already
Can
know
anyone
what
say-
we want to do. Yeah, the
Can anyone
ESA.
say Q-tainment?
Oh, gross.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna engage with all of those fans in the line.
Oh, thank you, Lady Merwin, for your Twitch Prime sub.
I totally just realized that it had lapsed and I hadn't resubbed.
Fair.
Yeah.
But the response
we
from
just-
go ahead.
I do want to read the ESA's response to this just
Yeah,
real quick
please,
because I think
you can give it a better voice than I can. Let's be real.
because let's put it this way. This statement is titled the ESA statement on Sony E3 2020 announcement, and it's a statement where they at no point say the word Sony. It's in the title but not in the body. That just gives you an idea of what we're operating with here. All right, it's short and sweet. E3 is a signature event celebrating the video game industry and showcasing the people, brands, and innovations redefining entertainment loved by billions of people around the world. E3 2020 will be an exciting, high-energy show featuring new experiences, partners, exhibitor spaces, activations, and programming that will entertain new and veteran attendees alike. Exhibitor interest in our new activations is gaining the attention of brands that view E3 as a key opportunity to connect with video game fans.
Listening-
I swear to oh my God. Go ahead.
Listening to you read that, I was waiting for it to hear the Sunday at Pembroke Arena.
I saw someone on Twitter be like, this could totally fit into a Tim and Eric sketch. And after reading it again, yes, this is basically just the free real estate sketch. That's all this is. It's just like, hey, Jim Bowie, we got it's a free house. Come on down. It's a free house. We got all these things to entertain you with. It's a free house.
This is the most non-statement statement that I believe I've ever heard in my life. So it's a good job of just completely being like, I don't know, but okay.
Everybody gear up. We're going to find out what activations are here in the next few months, probably. Also, I'm very curious to see how many quote-unquote veteran attendees actually go to this, knowing how many press outlets have been like, yo, we're not sending anyone until you can guarantee that you will protect our private information. You dipshits.
I liked the tweet that Nibel sent out in regards to this. I know not what publishers will be at E3 2020, but E3 2021 will just be 3 days of Devolver Digital wilding out. I'm
There
for
you
that.
go.
Entirely for it.
You can fuck with it.
All right, moving on to the rumor mill as it continues to move around. The PS5 specs have basically leaked, coming out of Eurogamer, which is usually pretty good with these things. So, you know, you've got a pretty good idea. These are unconfirmed, of course, but I've really never seen Eurogamer being that off base before, so take it with a grain of salt, but also it's probably true. We've got an 8 Zen 2-core with SMT clocks, undisclosed, 36 custom Navi compute units for the GPU, and a memory GDDR6 at 448 gigabytes per second, possibly 512, capacity undisclosed. It's fast. It's pretty fast.
So
Sounds
all
pretty
we know
fast.
is that we know nothing.
I mean, basically, like, it's just basically one of those things where, like, we saw how it loads. It loads good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, here's the tech that makes it load good. That's what that confirms to me.
Yeah, here's the tech that should make it load good based on our ideas of what Sony should have. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of people evangelizing that this is the absolute, this is what they will have. But I don't know, man.
I will say this though. I'm looking at these teraflop numbers, and I am just fanning myself like a Southern Belle on a hot porch. 9.2 teraflop GPU. My goodness.
So many flops. All the flopping.
Mhm. Yeah. I just like to say the word teraflop. It's fun.
Which, between the rumored specs of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, God, am I going to have to say the Xbox Series X for the next, like, 8 fucking years of my life?
Pretty much.
Yeah, but between the rumors of the specifications, between the two, they look roughly similar.
Which unsurprising. Although I did like how the one major news story come out of CES last week about where they showed like the 3D model of the Xbox Series X. At I can't remember whose keynote it was, but somebody, I think they showed like a 3D model of it, and everybody was looking at it. I was like, oh, we got to analyze this to see what kind of ports they have on the back. And they saw that there was like an HDMI in and an HDMI out, and they were like, everybody was reporting, it was like, oh, it has like, it's very similar to the Xbox One X in that way. And then Microsoft came out like, no, they just bought that model off of some website for $10. That's not the real thing, you dumbasses. Not in that parlance, obviously.
Yeah,
Phil Spencer wasn't out there just calling like people dumbasses, but
I mean, he certainly could. That'd be pretty cool.
I get it though. That's part of the job. Like I've sat there analyzing like screenshots of Shibuya, trying to like figure out, you know, like stuff for articles before. So I get it. You try to extrapolate information where you can. Like, so I understand it, but also just like it just kind of it tickled me to see that happen.
Oh man, that whole CES had so many just fucking weird shits going on during the whole thing. Like, not a whole lot of definitive, oh yes, this is the experiences that you're looking for, but just a whole lot of strange ideas that I would love to see. All right. The next thing actually really has me interested. So far, from what we have seen, the Xbox Series X, according to studio boss Matt Booty, has said that the first year will not have any Series X exclusive content. Instead, content will be multi-console between the Xbox Series X and the existing Xbox One consoles, hoping to sell the consoles on the heightened experience that you will get and see with your friends all playing their Xbox Series X. He do have that booty, though.
I mean, it makes sense that they would go that route. This kind of plays into their whole messaging around like having an unlocked experience in terms of how people want to game with their products and their games. You know, they wouldn't have established the Game Pass Ultimate in the way that it shares across the console and PC infrastructures for gaming purposes, unless they really wanted to kind of keep that ecosystem open. And the fact that they are willing to kind of put off the normal model of, you know, including next gen exclusives to get people to buy the console, like it speaks to just how open they want that ecosystem to be for at least the first year of the Series X's existence. You know, I mean, I'm curious to see how it works out in terms of how many consoles they move in the first year based off of it, especially considering that backwards compatibility has been even more of a talking point in moving into this console generation. So I don't know. It's a curiosity, and I'm very interested to watch how it plays out.
Like, I really feel like between this and, you know, their whole recent thing of being a little bit of everything for everyone, working uh, with other platforms, letting their games basically go willy nilly where they will and shall want. It's a really cool way to approach the market that I don't think I have seen out of a developer before, or a console maker. I guess they're kind of both in this case. That everyone gets a slice of the Xbox pie and for cheap with that wonderful Game Pass they have going on. Doesn't everyone want the Game Pass? I know I do.
I tried the PC Game Pass, and they need some more titles. Because I mean, out of all of their titles, the only one I actually had any desire whatsoever to play was Saints Row 4.
I mean, it's certainly better than what I'm getting with my Stadia, so that's something. Get that Switch, son. But that's not all of the Microsoft news because, you know, we've talked before about Microsoft and their wonderful ability to keep your secrecy and data safe. And thank you, Tom McKay from Gizmodo, you know, another arm of GO here. Microsoft outsourced their Skype Cortana voice analysis to China with virtually no security in place. Oh, shit. No security whatsoever. Just...
To be fair, if you were actually using the Cortana voice assistant, what the fuck was wrong with you? No offense to anybody that was, but just like the Cortana voice assistant is like fairly ineffective, and also maybe the worst branding possible for something that you're trying to interact with. Whenever you've seen what they've done to Cortana in the Halo games.
Yeah, I'm only surprised that they chose to go with Cortana there, but, you know, it's an iconic name, I guess. I get it, but it still ain't right.
Yeah.
But this whole article is just fascinating with the talk of all of the lax security measures in place and just the no fucks attitude given in this Chinese place where they just kind of sit there and listen to your voice all day and they can do whatever the hell they want to with it.
I will fully admit, I used the assistant for a while to because I thought it was cool. I could yell at my computer and make it do things.
I mean, I already did that anyway, but...
Yeah, but I mean, rather than just ineffectually yelling at it like I usually do, it would actually do the thing. However, I have noticed lately, one, I don't use it anymore because I got a Google Home. And two, it has decided to become so painfully and ridiculously sensitive that if I'm playing like a racing game or something and I go, hey, well, suddenly my game is out of focus because it has popped up thinking that, oh, look, I'm needed. It is like the overly attached girlfriend. It's horrible.
It wants to be there so very bad, and it doesn't need to be there. It really doesn't. I can't remember the last time I even touched it except for by accident. And hey, did you mean to use me? No, go home. I don't need you.
No, I just turned that shit off like immediately.
That's probably a good call since, you know, they're listening to you. Like, I don't really give a shit if some dude in China is listening to what I have to say, because I don't have a whole lot to say. damn. Just damn. Okay, moving on to the next item that we also have talked about previously. We talked about Rune 2, and how the developers of it, Human Head Studios, had done just amazing fucking work. And walking away with the goddamn code before being merged into the new parent company, leaving the publisher Ragnarok with their dick in their hands. Well, the company has finally returned that to Ragnarok, so now they can find a new fucking developer to develop this game that they aren't really familiar with. What a fucking dumb story.
let's not bury the lead here. The parent company that bought Human Head, Bethesda. So
Yeah.
let's just go ahead and throw that out there because we know that's going to come up here in this instance in some way. No, I mean it makes sense. Like that Ragnarok, that was their code. Like they got back their stuff as they rightfully should have. So like yeah, it sucks that they were left without a developer. And that it's the same way that when we first initially covered this. But at least they ended up getting their stuff back, and they could find someone else to help them get that game continued development back up and running.
True. Very, very true. I'm glad that the developer isn't in a whole shitstorm, but man, this was a shitstorm that never should have fucking happened to begin with. And for this to be what goes through with it, just how do you end up in this place? I don't understand.
I mean, we'll never know what happened with Human Head. Clearly, there was a financial issue itself, but what actually led to this whole situation, like, I don't know. Like, it's just stupid.
Stupid,
I wish I had a
think,
better.
is the key word here. That is these. How do you put out a game and just go, who cares? These people worked fucking hard on this game, so somebody should have been at the helm, maybe. Possibly. I don't know. I feel like I need a drink. Just after all of this delightful joy that is going on with all of these, it's a day. But let's move on to our next story. The finalist, and by the way, thank you, one of our favorites, Rebecca Valentine, over at GameIndustry.biz. Delightful as always. Coming forth with the information from the upcoming DICE Awards for the 2020 awards. And boy, Death Stranding and Control are goddamn everywhere. I like both of those games. Control maybe deserved some of the acclaim that it got, but this much for Death Stranding for that game? That's what you want to hang your hat on?
Yeah. Look, Control deserves a lot of this love and these nominations more so than Death Stranding does. I put Death Stranding in my top 5 games of the year. The only one on this panel to do so. I don't even think it should be nominated for a Game of the Year at the DICE Awards. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, the other games that are nominated, perfectly fine with that. You know, Control, Disco Elysium, Untitled Goose Game, Outer Wilds, all great stuff. Death Stranding, not there.
Where's your Sekiro in here? Like, I'm not saying that it's an awful game, but where is it?
Who knows? I honestly thought that I'm more surprised, honestly, that Days Gone was nominated for anything.
That's also true. Also, some of these outstanding achievements in art direction. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Come again?
I'm sorry, what?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare winning for outstanding achievement in art direction.
Yo, those maps are lit.
I, it
Sure
hurts, guys.
are.
Who wants to play an up-res of Shipment? Outstanding art direction.
I mean, and clearly outstanding achievement in character, and the Goose. Come on. The Goose clearly wins for outstanding character.
Here's
Yonk,
my
yonk,
issue.
yonk, goose.
Here's my issue with that category specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Death Stranding does not need 2 nominees in outstanding achievement in character.
One for Cliff Unger.
Cliff, that's fine. Like I can see Cliff as being there. Cliff was okay. Sam Porter Bridges is not a character. I'm sorry.
Like
That is not.
Cliff was good in the game, but he wasn't like present enough as like really acting to really resonate with me, I guess.
Well, it's just like one of those things where if you have games like Life is Strange 2 and like other like RPGs that hit people in the right place, Pavarti and Outer Worlds, there are so many other characters that could have been there and more deserving of a nomination than Sam fucking Porter fucking Bridges.
The man with no emotion.
The man who learns nothing throughout the course of that game. Spoiler alert. He learns nothing.
Is Sekiro anywhere? Oh yeah, it is on here for outstanding achievements in game design. That is literally fucking it. And somehow outstanding achievement in game direction doesn't have our good old Death Stranding. That's what I might actually put it for. Though our good Slay the Spire here for strategy simulation of the year, it'll probably go to Fire Emblem, but also Oxygen not included. Underrated fucking game.
No, don't sleep on Slay the Spire there. I would not be
Fair.
surprised. Yeah.
Mario Kart Tour for Racing Game of the Year, huh? Bold of you, bold of you.
To be fair, whenever only like 4 racing games come out in a year, it's the same reason why Jump Force is nominated for Best Fighting Game of the Year. Jump Force is abject garbage, but it came out, and only 4 of those came out, so it's there. Jesus Christ.
And hello, Killswitch. Yeah, so these DICE awards are a fascinating look. I know the lovely Merowyn, while we're having our delightful technical issues going on, is keeping you up with the articles as we go to them. So if you want to take a look, they're all there for you. Just thank you, Merowyn, for being here for us, the gamers, because no one's ever here for the gamers.
Yes.
Tech Nerd Secretary Monkey on the job.
All right, moving on to some stock news. And boy, no, everyone loves this. Coming directly from GameStop themselves. The year-to-year, surprise, for GameStop has gone down by 27.5%.
Yeah, so this is specific to the holiday season in terms of total global sales. Basically, year to year from 2018 to 2019, their sales were at 1.83 billion for 2019, but that still represented a 27.5% decrease compared to that same 9-week holiday period that ended on January 5th of 2019. So this is obviously bad. Anytime you have a drop of that large, it is bad. It's especially bad whenever you consider that year to year from 2017 to 2018, they actually grew their total sales during the holiday season. Yeah, like they actually grew their sales by a small percentage. I think it was like 1.5% during that time span. So you literally have almost a 30% spin from those numbers to this year's numbers. It's bad. It's it's real bad. Oh my, like this is it's the continuing saga of watching GameStop like slip underneath the water as it floats off into the horizon. And it's a sad thing for me to say, not because, corporations get fucked, but the people that work for there's this undoubtedly points to more restructuring, which means more layoffs, more store closures, more people losing their jobs, more people in the unemployment line. And that is terrible. Like that is not something any of us want, even though there is I'll be fair, like there is like a weird dark like glee and just watching to see how large the number is again this time around every once in a while, just because you know what's going to be bad. Like at this point, like GameStop, yes, they have to keep releasing these numbers because they are federally obligated under the law to do so. But
they don't want to.
Of course, they don't want to. That's the reason why they're like they led with the fact that we sold $1.83 billion, and then it was a decrease, but we still did it. Yay!
You certainly did it.
Yeah.
All
So
I'm picturing is like the Titanic sinking and the band just playing on.
What else are you gonna do if you're them, really?
yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. Like they had to readjust their guidance in this. So, like now their projected sales have gone down drastically because of this. That's obviously going to affect how quickly they move to restructure and close storefronts eventually. The worst thing about this, though, is that they are not budging on why they think this is happening. They are still publicly citing the change in console generations as the explanation for the lack of hardware and software sales in their stores, and not acknowledging the actual problem that their business model is becoming more and more extinct.
Yeah, this is the recurring point, and they will go down with the ship with this. That they're doing fine. They're doing everything they could possibly hope to do. It's just that gosh darn system change over time, and everyone's going to come back to us, and yeah, they're going to buy their their PlayStation 5s and their Xbox Series X from you. Absolutely positively. I know they are. But that's going to be short-term gains, and especially you're not gaining a whole lot in those sales. It's going to be selling the games that is going to be the big thing, right? And that's usually where they make their money, especially in return and then reselling those things. And that's not going to happen a lot next year. I don't see it happening, at least.
No.
So that's where GameStop is, and I don't think any of us want to see GameStop die. I'm pretty sure all of us grew up with GameStop and would be the most happy to see it thrive and flourish and do delightful things, but they're not.
No, I mean at this point, the only reason why I want to see GameStop continue to survive is because I don't want them to lose their jobs. Like I have been thoroughly scorned on like my nostalgic view of what Funko Land was and now what GameStop is. Like there's a reason why I do not go into GameStops. But I hope they continue to exist because I want people to have jobs and I don't want people to be out on the street in that instance,
Yeah, people not dying tends to be pretty good, I find, and when you don't have money, you tend to die. Just a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's a large leap, but okay. I would figure like you struggle for a little while and hopefully land on your feet and not jump straight to die. But you never know.
Huh. Let's see. It's in the green as far as my OBS is going. I shouldn't be dropping any frames. That's strange. But let me close a few things anyway, just in case something is going on in the background that I am not aware of. Because we don't need to have shitty streams going. Go away, Epic Game Store. Go away, Steam. Oh, yeah, that kind of gets rid of the game I was playing if I close Steam, doesn't it? Oh, well. Maybe it'll be better if I don't have anything streaming in the first place. Let's go with that. Why not? It's been a fun day here at Mr. Video Games. I'm glad if we're going to have stream buffering problems, it's almost over in the first place. You know, let it die quietly today, and then next week I'll figure out why Firefox wouldn't run today. Give us that nice white background so we can all appreciate our hopes and glories.
Yes.
You seeing it
Okay,
too?
we're back. It died. Just something hitched there for a second. It's okay now, though.
Alright, we'll get through our last two stories on the quick then. GameIndustry.biz again. Stadia has acquired Typhoon Studios. And those poor bastards in Montreal at Typhoon Studios. I don't know if the Stadia's going to last that long.
Honestly, I'm not sure either. I don't know. Like this, they're making a move, I guess. Maybe this points to some kind of longevity there, but who really knows? Like Google has no qualms about buying up something, putting people with good credentials in places where they can succeed, and then just abandoning something. So I don't know. Like, they're in it for at least a year, I'd say. And we'll see how things go whenever they actually come out of the Founders Edition era of the thing. But who knows? Unfortunately, though, I have to jet.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I have a hard out. So
Yeah, go for it. No problem.
I'm sorry, y'all. I do not like leaving the show early, but especially considering the next story is I'm pretty sure all for me.
Yes.
So,
but it's fine.
I'm sorry. Thank you everyone for coming out. Travis, Merwin, y'all have fun continuing on here. Love y'all to death. Everyone, check out all my stuff. You know all my plugs. Wonderboy OTM on Twitter. Blah blah blah. I'll see y'all next week. Keep it going, y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright, the last item. WWE 2K20 is almost unplayable in 2020. The year started with the game completely unplayable. Multiple modes of the game were completely fucked. This is the game that keeps on giving. It is a Fallout 76 in the making. Already. They've patched the game, but...
Yeah. I mean, I've loved following this just because it's hilarious.
It is so wonderful and delightful to watch how and when that the good people developing for 2K 2020, all that good stuff, just keep losing. And man, it just fills my soul with warmth on the same level as watching Cats go out to theaters. Oh, just so good. But as the stream seems to be going fantastically, and I am starting to get the red signal here, which means that my OBS must be telling me the truth that shit is fucked. Let's go ahead and declare our Mr. Video Game here so we can get the fuck out of here because computers don't like me today. I apologize to all of you out there in Mr. Video Game land. But our winner today of the Mr. Video Game Award is Kyle Fegley. Who the fuck is Kyle Fegley? He is the author of the official movie novelization of Sonic the Hedgehog that you can purchase on Amazon.com for $5.69 on paperback. You too can experience the magic at home of Sonic the Hedgehog in word format, learning about how fast Sonic the Hedgehog can go. That is Sonic the Hedgehog, the official movie novelization. You can buy it at that Amazon link. We're not even affiliated with Amazon. Give us money, Amazon. We're plugging your shit. It's good to get out of the system. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and let the stream die, because that's apparently what it wants to do. Thank you everyone for coming out today. Of course, Coop, Calverin, Giant Pie, we had Kill the Switch, several other people in the chat throughout the course of the evening. It's always good to see your lovely fucking faces coming out and saying hi. I have been Slacker Kite. Lady Merowyn, do you want to say anything real quick before we go?
You know what, guys? Just have a great night. Thank you so much for swinging by, dealing with our technical issues. Hopefully, we could get this all fixed by next week. And you know what? Just be the change you want to see in the world, and have a great week.
Alright, good night and have a pleasant tomorrow. Bye.